But the volatility increased dramatically this week, starting on Monday, when there was a big rally in gold, about $130. I think it closed up better than 100, but I think on the high, gold was up about $130 on Monday, and it actually took out the Friday high. Gold got to, I think, 4,378 and change. Silver didn't quite make it back to its Thursday high. It had a rally, but it didn't, make a new high. And then on Tuesday, we got the big dump. Gold dropped over $300, 6.5% or so one day. Silver tanked by more than $3. And then on Wednesday, we got some follow-through selling, and gold went all the way down to 4,000 and about 16, something like that. Never made it back below 4,000. Got close, and then it bounced back. And gold closed this week, I think, about 4,110. And silver closed the week just above $48.50. Now, yes, we've had a pullback in both gold and silver. They're now in correction territory. Corrections are very normal in a bull market. Gold is now off about 6.4% from its record high, and silver is off about 11% from its record high. But number one, I think the most significant aspect of the gold correction is that we didn't correct from 4,000. We corrected to 4,000, meaning that the correction started well above 4,000. It's not like we ran into resistance at 4,000, which is what a lot of people would expect at a big round number like that. I mean, typically, psychologically, you get resistance. We had it at $2,000 gold. We had it at $3,000 gold, though not quite as much as we had at 2,000. But a lot of people would have expected that 4,000 to be some type of resistance that, could cause a pullback, and it may take a little while for the market to muscle through 4,000. Instead, we went through it like a hot knife through butter. Yes, we had a correction, but we fell down to 4,000. 4,000 now looks like the floor for the price of silver. Now, instead of being emboldened by that, because if 4,000 is the new floor for gold, that is great news for the gold mining companies. But you wouldn't know that by looking at what happened to those stocks. The GDX is now down 14.5% from its high last week, and the GDXJ is down 15.5%. And pretty much every silver stock is in a bear market, right? Down more than 20%. Even though silver is at 48.5, which is a very high price for silver. And the fact that it was able to get through 50 all the way up almost to 55, I think should be encouraging news for silver stock buyers, because it shows that 50 isn't the ceiling anymore. We went through 50. And yes, we're back below it now, but I doubt we'll stay below it for long. Now, getting back, though, to gold and 4,000, I think 4,000 is the new 3,000. And if you recall, when we got above $3,000 gold, we did dip below it a couple of times, but we didn't stay below it very long. It really was the floor. The same thing is probably going to happen with 4,000. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the market went back below 4,000, especially since it came so close this week at 4,016. Now, maybe that was the low. Maybe this is the end of the correction. But it's also very possible that that's not the low, that the market retests that number and maybe goes a little lower than that in order to shake out some of the speculators who may be, buying it now and putting some stops below that low, or maybe below 4,000, hoping that it won't go down there, and trying to get, kind of a low risk trade where I'm buying gold at 4,100, or maybe they got it a little lower and I'll get out if it gets below 4,000 or something like that. So there could be some people trying to do that, and, they may get stopped out. Then again, they may not. I don't know, but I don't even care, because I think that if we do go back below 4,000, it's only going to be very briefly and mainly probably just to flush out those stops. And then the market will come back up. So I think we're headed a lot higher. I think the fact that gold went above 4,000 is a very bullish sign. You know, the Fed is expected to cut rates yet again. And that is despite the news that we got today. You know, we finally got some government economic data. I guess they forced them to do this even though we're in a shutdown. They released earlier this morning the CPI numbers for September. And consumer prices rose 0.3 on the month, which was a bit below the consensus of 0.4. But the more significant number is that year over year, CPI is up 3%. Now that's 0.1% hotter than the prior month, slightly below the 3.1% that analysts had expected. But what's more significant is the sequential number going up. So we were at 2.9. We didn't go down from 2.9. We went up to 3. Now remember, the Fed claims that its target is 2. So if your target is 2, and in the last month, you moved up from 2.9 to 3, so you're 50% above target and you're headed in the wrong direction, what would you expect the Fed's next move to be? Well, it should be a hike, right? If inflation is 50% above target and rising, and the stock market is at a record high. By the way, all three of the major stock market indexes, the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ, hit new record highs today. In fact, the Dow today closed for the first time ever above 47,000, excuse me. Again, this is a nominal high, not adjusted for inflation or the price of gold. But you've got record high stock prices. You've got $4,100 gold. You've got inflation 50% above target and rising. Right? The Fed should hike. Yet the Fed is about to cut. Right? And that's one of the reasons, right, that the markets are where they are, including gold, that the Fed is going to do the wrong thing. So we'll see how the market reacts to this next week. Bitcoin guys are hoping that problems for gold are opportunities for Bitcoin. That now that gold is topped out, that the trade is going to rotate into Bitcoin. That ain't going to happen, right? Most of the people who have been buying gold couldn't care less about Bitcoin. That's why they're buying gold. And they're not going to rotate into fool's gold because real gold took a pause. So that's just a bunch of wishful thinking. They're trying to hype people into Bitcoin. They're not trying to get the gold buyers. They're just trying to get people that aren't doing anything to buy Bitcoin because they want them to think that now Bitcoin's about to moon because gold is coming back to earth. Even though it's not really coming back to earth, it's still north of $4,000. And, you know, they point to prior periods where gold moved first and then Bitcoin moved. But I don't think those two events are in any way correlated. I mean, Bitcoin has just been moving up with risk assets. It's got nothing to do with gold. But sure, you can always point to periods where gold stops going up. Gold is risk on, right? So gold's safe haven. So the reason that Bitcoin tends to move up when gold is going sideways or moving down, it's not because people are rotating out of gold into Bitcoin. It's because people are buying risk assets rather than a safe haven, and Bitcoin falls into that camp. In the meantime, take advantage of this pullback in the price of gold. Gold was as high as almost 4,400. We're now down closer to 4,100. Buy some. Silver, I think now buying it below 50 is a great buy because I don't think it will be below 50 for long. And I do believe that 50 will ultimately be the support, even though we're below 50 now. That was the double top. We've taken it out. We've now pulled back. I think the next move will probably catapult it much higher than 50. So you can still buy silver right now.